Welcome to our quick guide on WinCC Unified Reporting. We'll cover Excel add-in for custom reports and explore flexible report control settings. Stay tuned. I will highlight the Unified Comfort Panel portion of these slides. Notice it says here for the panels, in work. That was true at the time of these slides, however, since the operating system release for these panels in version 18, this reporting tool has been a godsend for the features that I needed to get me where I was trying to go with reports. In the end, I was able to replicate what the comfort panels were capable of and way more. The most important takeaway is that the reporting template is driven independently of the WinCC engineering, which is awesome. I will highlight the Unified Comfort Panel portion of these slides. Reports cover logging tags, online tags, and log alarms. KPIs and operands will not be performed in this overview. KPIs and operands are possible with a package called Performance Insight. Ultimately, we use Excel to templatize our way to creating PDFs from our runtime. There are somewhat strict requirements on the use of versions of Microsoft Excel. Note that specific build, you'd want to be at that or higher. You must also look at the Windows OS version, along with the browser version. Yes, browsers are listed here because you can also rely on Microsoft 365 for use, which is what I will show here today. Reporting is a core function of Unified, and its licensing is included with WinCC Unified Comfort Engineering. So to get this feature into place, visit DVD 2 of the installation disk for the TIA Portal version that is relevant to your panel's engineered runtime. Once the installation is complete, you will have components and tools for TIA Portal and a folder area where the Excel add-in will exist. This reporting installation can occur without any other TIA component installed. Manually triggering a tag in runtime doesn't require a license, while tag triggers require an additional license for Unified PC runtimes. Not the case currently for Unified Comfort panels. The way this functionally works is you would use Excel as the part where you get the data from any runtime and display it live in Excel, or you also use Excel to generate a report template for the runtime to use long term. So through the use of the add-in, the report area can be constructed by aligning the data from the WinCC into specific data areas and pages. So of course there are some preconditions in engineering you need to perform for a report to work successfully, such as the WinCC tag data itself. So what kind of tag data? So we define these as single tags, or tag or alarm logs themselves as a time series. Now for the criteria about the Excel add-in itself. These can be broken down into 3 different steps. Step 1. Install the reporting add-in as we previously discussed. There are 2 add-ons installed for this to function. The Excel portion, which provides access to export the report as an XLSX format, and the other add-on which provides exports of reports as a PDF format. This installation is required where the PC templates are to be used or generated. Give the users that create templates with the Excel add-in read access to the installation path of the Excel manifest. This is completed under the target directory. Find the set of folders in the main folder program files. Then Siemens and the automation folders are set as the default. Then these subfolders WinCC Unified Reporting and Excel Manifest. To finish, you must apply changes to the properties of the Excel Manifest folder to provide advanced sharing access for other applications in Windows. Once Excel is open, navigate to the Trust Center. You can find this under the File menu, then select Options. In the Options window, click on Trust Center Settings. This will open a new window with various security settings. In the Trust Center Settings window, click on Catalogs of Trusted Add-ins. This will allow you to manage your trusted add-in catalogs. Finally, add the catalog using the URL or Excel Manifest. This will add the specified catalog to your list of trusted add-ins. Go to the Insert menu and click on My Add-ins. This will open a dialog box with a list of available add-ins. In the Office Add-ins dialog box, you should see the Siemens add-in displayed under Shared Folders. This means that the add-in is available for use. Finally, select the Siemens add-in and click Add. This will add the Siemens add-in to your Excel application. There you have it. You've successfully added the Siemens add-in to Microsoft Excel. Moving right along to Step 2, and that is how to use the report template inside Excel. So to log into the panel using Excel, enter the server address. Enter the credentials of the user that has rights and roles set up for them to access the HMI and click Login. However, it is important to note that any simulated runtime will not result in a successful login. It must be a real unified HMI panel or PC runtime. Lastly, to get any panel to work here, you will need to install the certificates that are issued from the panel's web server. Once the login has taken place, the only other thing to be completed in the connection area is the loading configuration. Here the load button displays the elements that are to be made available for the template. Also, see that the offline configuration can be used here. More to come with that in the live demo later. Each segment is a container to which you add each data source item. These items build up the template full of the data you wish to display. There are two main types: time series such as tag or alarm logs, or single value segments which can contain just instantaneous tag values from the unified system. Segments with a single value are made up of a data table that precisely assigns one value to each item from the data source within the segment. The data table has the capability to provide additional details about the value, such as timestamps and supplementary labels. When it comes to setting up a time series, the process is slightly different, yet bears similarities. You would still need to add a series, but what you'd be looking for is something like the log area, or the alarm log area. That's the current status of the setup. So, now for the fun part, live programming. First, we will need to see what creating a logging tag looks like on a unified comfort panel. Don't forget, here we will be logging locally to the panel. Also, we will demonstrate how to configure a single value and time series segment. Finally, to finish this section out, we will import the RT data into Excel. So here are the general parts and pieces that are easy to see in the network view of the project. We are using a 7-inch WinCC unified comfort panel, which is used to display values and the diagnostics local to the installation. Next, what I'm going to show you is that I have some logs set up, because first we must have somewhere to log the data. So that's what you're seeing set up here in this area along the top. Very similar to how it would look in terms of setup for the previous comfort panel. You don't assign the tag to the log here, but back in the tag table on each tag there is a section there for individual setup. So go to the tag table and see there are several tables. But if we visit the demo case tag table, this has the tags for the potentiometers on the front of the kit that will be used to vary some input values to the data log. When a tag is highlighted, a small console appears that allows you to view and create log tags. It's quite convenient to have a data log and to be able to input it here. This is a great place for editing because under a single tag you can perform various actions. For instance, if you wish to modify the trigger mode on the tag, this is where you want to visit. You can even establish a secondary log off that tag, allowing you to stack your logs. This might sound complex, but it's a practical feature once you get the hang of it. The setup includes different potentiometers along the kit, which feed into this data log. After setting up a data log, it can be displayed on a screen for review and adjustments. This makes it easy to manage and optimize your logs. Next up, we've got a trend screen. It's not standard on your typical RE kit, but setting it up is a breeze. Just grab a trend control, head over to your HMI tags, and start the drag and drop. But there's more. Right-click and head into Properties. And here's a cool part. Under Miscellaneous Function Bar Elements, there's an export option. Just scroll down, turn on the visibility, and there you have it. This feature is now ready for action. When you click on it later, you'll be able to export an Excel spreadsheet. Now, alarm logs work a bit differently than data logs. Instead of tracking continuous process values, they capture specific events like equipment malfunctions or limit violations. Think of it like a detailed security camera for your automation system, recording every hiccup and anomaly. So how do we link this log? It's similar, but not in the same data log area. For this one, we will need to similarly configure an alarm log in the work window for the alarm logs. Next, we set up an alarm log in the TIA portal software. The first step is to assign each alarm to a log. This can be done in the HMI alarms area or based on the HMI tag parameters, as we've previously seen in the tag table. In this area, you'll also find what are known as alarm classes. This is where you can specify which alarm class is assigned to which log, essentially defining our alarm logging process. For instance, I've added a class called REE Alarm at the bottom of the list. Several of them are being logged, resulting in a comprehensive alarm log. In addition to the tag log and alarm log, I've also included an audit trail. While I'm not focusing on this in the demo, I wanted to show you that it's possible to add this as well. Next, we will give focus on unified screen number 15, labeled Reporting. This is now entering the second step of this demo. Now let's shift our attention to Microsoft Excel. I've already imported some data to save us some time. However, I believe it's crucial to show you the steps I took to get that Microsoft add-on set up. Let's dive in. First, we'll navigate to the option that allows us to upload. Now, depending on your company's policies, you might be restricted from performing certain actions. Next, we'll browse to locate the add-in. It's located under the Excel manifest, which can be a bit tricky to find. You might need to navigate there a few times to get familiar with the path. The folder path is Siemens Automation, WinCC Unified Reporting, and Excel Manifest. Once we locate the Excel manifest, we'll open it, hit Upload, and voila! It appears in the top bar of our application. Once you've installed the Microsoft add-on in TIA Portal software, you'll notice two main areas, Connections and Segment. The first thing we need to tackle is Connections. If this is your first time setting this up, you'll need to input the IP address of the targeted unified runtime into the server field. I'll be using mine for this demonstration, but know yours could be different. Before we proceed, it's important to note that you must have downloaded something to this panel and have the user management applied with the WebClient enabled for remote viewing and configuration of the runtime. Let's ensure that our site reporting is activated. You can find this under Runtime Settings. In my case, the WebClient is already turned on. Before any of this will be stored, you have to activate and point to the hardware medium for the logging to be stored. Then in the reporting section, you can define the exact directory and folder location. Reporting is also enabled. I've downloaded the report and directed it to a reports folder I created on the SD card. There's a bit of configuration involved in this step, which I may not have emphasized earlier, but yes, the reporting is indeed activated. Great. Now it's time to check the HMI connection and access the Unified Panel's web server using HTTPS. It's crucial to have a secure connection. You'll notice a lock symbol in your URL indicating a secure connection. If this symbol is missing, it means the certificate authority needs to be installed. To install the certificate, simply click on it and download it. You'll be asked whether you want to keep or delete it. Choose Keep, then open the downloaded file. A pop-up will appear where you can view details about the certificate, including time, date stamps, and the certificate authority path. It's important to be cautious when installing certificates. However, in this case, we know the source and what we're trying to achieve, so we can proceed with the installation. Choose Local Machine for the installation location. I prefer to place this under a different certificate store called Trusted Root Certificate Authority. This ensures long-term trust, and your browser will recognize the secure connection from now on. After completing these steps, you might notice that the connection still isn't secure. If this happens, simply close and reopen your browser. Once you reopen the browser, your connection will be secure. Here's how it appears when I'm online with the HMI panel using the Excel add-on. Although there might not seem to be much difference, I can load and scroll down to view various sections. If there are any areas that I don't need, I have the option to uncheck them, which can be an effective way of filtering out the tag set you wish to see ahead of time. What's happening here is that all the context is being pulled in for another part known as segment. Essentially, this step is all about establishing the connection and creating common links between all the tag's data areas. In the second section, which we refer to as segments, you'll typically be adding new ones. We have several options to explore here. Let us quickly skim through the top. When it comes to connections, I want to draw your attention to this offline view. If you decide not to use the online mode, there's an alternative offline mode, where you can collect a configuration file from the runtime. Now let's take a quick look at the runtime. I know we're moving back and forth, but bear with me, we'll get through it. As you can see, we're already logged in, and there's a nice display of the newly updated RE kit. I've already created a screen called Reporting, where I have incorporated the reporting tool. This report viewer you are now seeing in Runtime. Don't be overwhelmed by the work that appears to be already done. Essentially, I've only dragged this tool from the toolbox section into a screen. That's what we're observing with this overlay that you see among all the tabs. No extra effort was required to achieve this. I brought us here to show you where the offline configuration files can be collected, or a separate backup file can be exported or imported. This offline config file can be used with the Excel reporting add-on. Let's return to our Excel sheet, keeping in mind that we're in the online view. We'll navigate back to segments and add a new tag. We'll create a new single value, and yes, grouping them is fine. Remember, these are all just tests because what I'm going to show you is quite impressive. We have a group here specifically for extracting single values. We can examine logging tags or other tags. Initially, it sets us up with this wildcard, allowing us to load anything within the tag table. Take note of the internal HMI tags we're getting. It's pretty cool, right? It's a great way to see what's available internally for the HMI. But beyond that, you can start delving into the tag structure itself. Let's try to select something useful. How about a push button or a blue lamp? The way this works is that it will use the cell of the tag I highlighted earlier. If you want to select multiple tags, you can simply start clicking more. And just like that, we're making progress. Here's what will happen. The first selected tag will be located at cell A1, the second one will be 1500, and the third one will be 1200. So we have A1, A2, and A3. Now if you want to move these, you'll need to do it one by one to change them or delete them and do it correctly the first time. The GUI is user-friendly, but it can be quite a bit of work if you're not careful with the structure. That's all for now. One of the fantastic features of this menu is the update function. What it does is it scans the HMI for the tag values we've just chosen and places them right here. So let's put this feature into action. Alright, I believe I'm holding the blue 1500. Let's see if one of them returns true when I refresh the template to retrieve values. And there you have it. As you can see, I can collect the tags from the HMI and place them into this sheet right here. This is a simple way of capturing single tags and incorporating them into a report. Now this might not look very appealing at the moment. You might want to add a nice image or perhaps some columns and headers. That's all I'm demonstrating at this moment with single values. Let's go ahead and attempt a new time series segment. Let's see how this works. I'll probably need to create a new page. So let's do that and then generate a new time series. There we go. Now I'm on sheet 2. So let's just call it alarms. How does that sound? Now I'm going to collapse group 1 and focus on this one called alarms. You'll notice that I haven't added any tags to this segment yet, but there are these edit keys that I didn't highlight earlier within the segment properties. With these you can have Excel display the location and the start and end dates of the series, which can be quite important. There are a few more options here. The reason I'm highlighting this is that you might not want to capture every single alarm since the machine was turned on. Perhaps you only want to capture the last 5 to 10 minutes of records. You can do that here because it gives you the option of choosing absolute dates, relative dates, the date and time of a cell in the template, or the date and time of a tag from the HMI. There are different options for how you can select your start and end dates. You can drive it from the HMI or type it in manually. What I usually do is select a relative date, which will capture the last 10 minutes. For the end date, I'll also choose a relative date, and it will start from the last 10 minutes and give me everything from that period. That's a brief overview of some of the setup here. The rest involves features that I can enable. Let's turn these on, and then I'll hit OK. Notice what it has constructed for me on the left inside the Sheet 2 work area. WinCC Unified generates two main components using its unified reporting tool. When you decide to add new items, you would typically navigate to the alarm log to inspect the alarms. As you scroll through the interface, you'll find a section dedicated to alarms. Interestingly, the only selectable attribute under alarms is the ID. It's important to note that all alarms are organized by their ID, which is a key feature of this system. You might also observe that the remaining elements occupy a significant amount of space. The system automatically inserts visible elements such as the name, alarm class, and origin. These elements can take up considerable space on the interface. To optimize the layout, I prefer to condense these elements as much as possible to fit the page. This process requires a bit of coordination, but it's worth it for a streamlined interface. Now let's put this into practice. I'm going to walk over to the RE kit, trigger an alarm, and pull the I/O card. Then, I'll activate switches 1 and 2. Just like the previous example, there's a play button here. I can hit update and, fingers crossed, we should see some results. And there we have it. In the past 10 minutes, I've demonstrated the use of the analog output card and the overpressure button. As you can see, the system generates various outputs. Not only do we get the ID, but we also see the class and the actual sender from the Unified Comfort panel, complete with its build number. This process yields a wealth of detail, including the time when the alarm was raised. But that's not all. The system allows for even more customization. For instance, if I select Edit ID and scroll down, you'll see different columns that can be toggled on and off. If you decide that the time when raised isn't necessary, you can simply deselect it. The goal here is to tailor these reports to your needs, ensuring they are both informative and aesthetically pleasing. Now let's take a look at a report I've previously prepared. Alright, let's dive into what I've constructed for us in the Unified Panel configuration. We have a screen that displays tag values and instantaneous values. Nothing out of the ordinary here. Next we have an alarm log, which we've discussed earlier. However, I've streamlined it to display only the timestamp, the ID, and the event text. This makes it easier to digest the information at a glance. Finally, we have another alarm log that features the 3 different potentiometers from the RE kit. While there are more available, I've chosen to focus on these 3 for this demonstration. Additionally, I've plotted 2 of these potentiometers on a graph for a visual representation. Let's dive in. If you examine the segments, you'll find they are quite similar. You'll notice groupings of logged alarms and log tags, which correspond to different pages located at the bottom right of the interface. I also utilize Excel in this process. For instance, I use the Now function in a cell to generate a timestamp every time I open and close the Excel sheet. This is reflected in the tag log, where Excel generates a simple graph. Once I've created this and adjusted the columns to my liking, ensuring the IDs are in place and everything is arranged as desired, I can save and download a copy of this. With this copy, you can then navigate inside the TIA portal. What we'll explore next is the additional work we do with a feature called the Report Configurator. Now let's return to the slides. Moving on to step 3, we're preparing to work on the runtime configuration. If you're not familiar with many of our tools, such as the reporting tool we're discussing today, it's important to note that most features included in the unified system, particularly the unified options like recipes or plan intelligence, are primarily configured from the runtime. When you see how this is generated, keep in mind that the DVD2 installation for reporting includes this installation of that tool in WinCC Unified Engineering. So if you didn't complete the reporting installation on DVD2, you might not have access to this control. It would be assigned to retry or repair the installation. Let's explore the different tabs at the top of the WinCC Unified Panel runtime. Essentially, these tabs represent various features and regions we'll work through. Firstly, we have the Reports tab, which serves as a top-level view where all generated items are displayed. Next, we have the Report Jobs tab, where we set up the reports and define the triggering times. Additionally, there are job parameters to manage advanced features, and a configuration area for further customization. When we navigate to the Reports area, you'll notice various options at the top and bottom. These symbols maintain consistent meanings across all screens. For instance, one symbol represents the delete element function. A great feature of this system is that it prevents you from accidentally deleting elements used in templates. You also can create new elements here, though they will likely require configuration. If you create new elements, the play button allows you to trigger a report manually. Lastly, there's an export button, which enables you to export different features of the report control. Now let's delve into job parameters. Your first step is to set up a template. You'll click Add New, and you might notice a slide-up window in the middle of the screen. This window allows you to resize the work area at the bottom. If you don't see it, it might be collapsed, so keep an eye out for it. The ellipsis button lets you browse for the file, which we'll demonstrate shortly. The next step involves using the trigger area to create a trigger if needed. There are several ways to set this up. You could use a tag trigger from the PLC or HMI, or you could set up a recurrence trigger. We'll take a closer look at the latter, which is often useful for setting specific dates and times. Here's an example of a recurrence trigger. There are numerous configurations available with the patterns provided. Lastly, we have an example of a tag trigger. Here, you would specify the condition and assign it a value. The storage location is an important aspect of the report generation process. It is the last option on the top menu. You can see the storage location on the screen. This is where the reports are saved when you use a PC runtime. You can tell by the C: that this is a Windows path. When you use a panel, you need to follow the Linux path format. I will show you an example of that later. After you finish configuring the settings that I explained before, you need to create the report itself. There are a few things to consider when creating a report. First, you need a template file. This is the Excel file that we uploaded earlier. Second, you need a template file name. I will show you some tips on how to name your files properly. Third, you need to choose where and how to store your reports. You have two options, spreadsheet or PDF. I think PDF is better because it takes less space. I will explain more about that in the next section. Once you have everything set up, you can trigger the report generation. You will see the triggered reports in this area. You can select the PDF file and export it from here. Let's start with the global settings. Here you can export and import your offline configuration. This is useful if you want to back up your work or transfer it to another RE kit. You need to save it as a zip file and import it on the other device. However, be careful because some settings, such as certificates and passwords, are not exported. Also, importing a configuration will overwrite the existing one. One of the settings that you need to enter manually is the SMTP configuration. This is how you can set up email notifications for your reports. You need to provide a username and password for the SMTP server. If you move your configuration to another panel, you must enter the password again. Next, let's look at the job parameters. Here you can see the template that I have uploaded. This is the Excel file that we created earlier. You can choose any template from your device or upload a new one. You can also export or delete the template if you want. Finally, let's see how to set up triggers for the report generation. I have not added any triggers yet, but I will show you how it works. You can choose between a context trigger or a recurrence trigger. A context trigger is based on some condition, such as a tag value or a user action. A recurrence trigger is based on a time interval, such as daily, weekly, or monthly. For example, you can create a report every day at noon. That's how you can automate your report generation. This is where you can specify the storage path for your reports. You can see a small window in the bottom right corner. If you don't see it, you can open it by clicking on this icon. We don't need this trigger right now, so I will delete it. The storage path is automatically generated when you use a unified comfort panel. It points to the location that you configured in the global settings. That's the first option. The second option is another storage path on the media. The third option is email. This is how you can send your reports by email. We will not cover this option today, but it's possible to set it up. You can choose any location you want, but you should avoid storing the reports on the root of the unified comfort panel. That could cause problems with the panel performance. You also need to have an SD card in the data slot of the unified comfort panel. Having a high-speed card can play into processing speeds. That's it for the target area. Now we can move on to the report jobs. We are done with the job parameters. I have a report here. We can create a new one if you like, but I'd prefer to discuss the existing one. However, let's make a temporary new one to show you its features. When you create a new report, it automatically assigns a number for the job name. You then select a template. After that, you get a report name which you can customize. By clicking the Configure button, you get a menu where you can add elements like a text counter, date type, and a tag. Imagine the possibilities with this feature. One interesting idea is to use it to send an alarm log via email with a dynamic subject line. This can be achieved using this tag, and the dynamic text can be driven from my HMI tag or from the PLC. For instance, if I add a tag here and choose one from the list, the value of that tag will be included in the name. It might seem odd, as it could say false, but this will be the report header. When you email the report, the header becomes the subject line, which I think is pretty cool. There are many ways we can create these report titles. Let me show you what I did by deleting this and starting over. I added a report and set the date format to year, month, day, hour, and minute. Then, I used something called an index. I'll show you there's a counter now. This prevents me from overwriting the previous report if I accidentally use the same hour and minute twice. That's why it's crucial to think about the name and the file system. I haven't tried generating XLSX files, I've only been creating PDFs. Now we're at the report section. There's not much to do here, but if I want to manually trigger a report, I would select it here and press the play button. Now you'll see another line appear here. It takes a few moments. You'll notice some loading symbols, one on the folder. Ideally, this one finishes first, indicating that the file has been created and saved. Next, the PDF completes. While that's happening, let me show you some spreadsheets I've created before, just to demonstrate it's possible. I've also emailed these out so I could find an email with the spreadsheet, or PDF. I've done this in various ways. These are just the ones I have at the moment. Alright, it's generated now. Now let's highlight the PDF and export it. Pretty cool, right? Let's quickly go over a few key points. When you make a report, you set it up once, and it's ready to go. It's like transferring information. You build it, tag it, and say, Here's the part that reads the data. Then you add some text and another piece of data that changes. It's mostly about setting things up. One cool thing I noticed is that you can change these on the go. You don't need to download anything again. You can just update the template, add a new tag, and it doesn't affect the system while it's running. First off, the new user interfaces are a big hit in my book. It's tough to show here, but I'll give it a shot. With Smart Server Access, I can log in without any hiccups, as long as I remember the password. Once I'm in, I head over to the Reporting tab. Now here's something neat. I can pinch and zoom right on the screen. If a button's too small, no problem. Moving on to the app itself, you've probably seen this before. Start the conveyor, hear it running, then stop, and reset. Nothing out of the ordinary, but check this out. I've got trends that I can adjust up and down in a flash. Let's take a look at the data flowing through our system. This gives us a snapshot of the current state of our operations. But what's even more exciting is that we can export this trend data right from here, providing us with a different approach to extracting trend information. To do this, we'll select our preferred format, which in this case is comma-separated Unicode, and then click OK. And there we have it. Simply start by looking at the output from our report. You'll see it's basically logging and tracking values in time series. One of the features we really appreciate is the WebClient aspect. It's been incredibly helpful, and we think you'll find it useful too. Now imagine you have multiple machines, and you want to run them in a line format. That's where the collaboration feature comes in. We've set up a demo kit to show you how it works. We won't go into detail on how to configure collaboration in this video, but we can cover that in a future tutorial. For now, let's focus on what you can do with it that makes it useful. We set up a Somatic PC station with a unified PC runtime. It has a single screen called Demo Kit 1 with a picture window, screen viewer buttons for various screens, and an alarm viewer at the bottom. When you set up collaboration and share certificates between your runtimes, you can decouple different TIA portal programs as required. You don't need to recreate the demo kit's visualizations in your TIA portal. There exists dynamic reusability between differing TIA versions. Alright, we're nearing the end of our tutorial. Let's take a look at our collaboration screens. You'll notice the same trend viewer and reports menu that we've been using. We didn't have to recreate any of these features. They're all available through the unified comfort panel. We're accessing these features in a decentralized way, which means we can still retrieve all the same files without any extra effort. The same goes for the alarm system. It's all part of the collaboration feature. Now let's demonstrate how this works. I'm going to turn on two switches from the demo kit. Remember, all of this is possible through collaboration. We're pulling this data directly from the system. The trends are no different. We can still export these as comma-separated files, or in any format you prefer. It's all part of the collaboration feature. Alright, that brings us to the end of our tutorial on using the reporting features in TIA Portal with WinCC Unified. We hope you found this video informative and helpful. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How useful do you think these reporting features would be in your work? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.